morning and welcome to ASEAN News Streams. Today is Friday, May the 6th, 2011. You're with me, Nirasha Malisak-Lamia.
And I am Anravitang Misang. And here are the morning news updates. Singapore Prime Minister is admitting mistakes and even apologizing, which is seen as a sign that the island state could face its strongest electoral challenge. The Singapore Democratic Party on Thursday continued its attacks on the ruling People's Action Party and reminded voters that the opposition party has a concrete set of alternative plans for Singapore, according to the Straits Times of Singapore. Speaking to a packed crowd at its first lunchtime rally next to the UOB Center, SDP candidates hit out that the PAP ministers, calling them complacent while earning millions a year. But more seats are being contested than ever before by a new crop of well-educated opposition candidates. The PAP has had to evolve as Singaporeans traveled and studied abroad more and become better educated. In recent speeches, Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong, Lee Kuan Yew's son, has warned voters to avoid opposition candidates, reminding them that the government favors pro-PAP districts with funding for improvements to the public housing where about 80% of Singaporeans live. But he also has admitted several mistakes, including failing to build enough public housing overall and not expanding the transportation network to accommodate a surge in foreign workers. In power for 52 years, the PAP controlled all but two of the last parliament's 84 seats. The opposition never has held more than 4. This year, opposition parties are contesting 82 of 87 seats. On the last day of campaigning, political parties held 14 rallies. The first was a lunchtime rally by the Singapore Democratic Party, or SDP, held at the Board Quay. As candidates accused the ruling People's Action Party of not having plans to tackle the cost of living, job instability, stagnant wages, and the widening income gap. PAP, on the other hand, was campaigning that they are making a special effort to engage young people, tapping their ideas and energies, involving them in building Singapore. On Saturday, Singaporeans will vote to elect the new government.
The United Nations said in its report that Asia-Pacific developing countries will continue driving the global economy in 2011. However, high food and fuel prices and volatile capital inflows pose fresh challenges. The Economic and Social Survey of Asia and the Pacific 2011, made by the UN Economic and Social Commission for Asia and the Pacific, or ESCAP, notes that strong growth is projected at 7.3% against last year's 8.8%, pulling developing countries out of the Great Recession of 2008 and 2009. Still, the 2011 regional growth outlook is subject to downside risk, notably from the return of high food and fuel prices, sluggish recovery in rich nations, a deluge of volatile capital inflows, and the after effects of natural disasters. Although the regional economic impact of Japan's recent earthquake and tsunami will be less severe than might have been initially expected. UN Under-Secretary General and Executive Secretary of ESCAP, Dr. Noeleen Heyzer, say that Asia-Pacific region emerged from the global financial crisis as a growth driver and anchor of stability of the global economy. Along with moderate slowdown in growth in 2011, most economies are likely to see an increase in inflation from rising food and oil prices. Dr. Heyzer said the key immediate challenge was to address rising food prices that are threatening to seriously undermine the process of poverty reduction. ESCAP estimates show that rising food and oil prices could lead to 42 million additional people in poverty, joining the 19 million already affected in 2010. In a worst-case scenario, with food price inflation doubling in 2011 and average oil prices at $130 a barrel, The achievement of the Millennium Development Goal for poverty could be postponed by up to half a decade in some developing countries in the region. ESCAP estimates that persistent high oil prices may lead to economies experiencing a negative impact on GDP growth in 2011 of up to 1%. The impact of oil prices on growth in Asia-Pacific is significant due to high energy intensity of production in the region. According to the ESCAP Financial Vulnerability Indicator, another risk the survey finds is volatile and large capital flows creating assets bubbles in many economies of the region and causing currency to rise. Governments have built up foreign exchange reserves as insurance against such capital flows, but these may be inadequate in some cases. Nevertheless, capital controls should be seen as an important element in the policy toolkit for reducing the volatility of inflows. In the medium term, the region must also generate more aggregate consumption and investment demand to sustain dynamism and reduce poverty.